Okay guys, so let's get going on another type of question, which is the short answer question. So these questions are often called comprehension questions, and they are very common in English classrooms all over the world, not only in English classrooms where people are learning English as a foreign language, but if you go into primary schools in my local area here in Ireland, and you go into, you look at 8, 9, 10-year-old students looking at English and learning English, you'll often see these types of questions where you'll be given a short passage and then just basically ask questions about the passage. And really what it's testing is, can you understand the question and can you understand the text? It's really important that you understand that it's not just about understanding the reading text, it's about understanding the actual question. If you don't understand the question, you will not understand or be able to come up with the answer. So be wary of that. That doesn't mean that you can't, you can ignore the text. The text is very, very important, but the questions themselves are equally important. Most students have answered these kinds of questions before, and for this reason, most students tend to do quite well with them. This doesn't mean that you should be complacent and you should think that these are easy. They're not easy, they are familiar. So you'll often have experienced these before. Many of you struggle with questions like matching headings and true, false, not given, not because those questions are difficult, but because you're unfamiliar with them. And having that familiarity creates confidence, and if you have confidence in the reading test, then you're going to be more decisive and you're going to do things in a more efficient way. So this does help. Here are the skills tested for this type of question. So number 1, ability to skim the passage quickly and understand overall meaning. This is one of the things you're going to be doing, not the only thing. Ability to scan for specific information, just so in other words, to find out where the answer is. Understanding the question being asked, very, very important, as we've already mentioned. And thinking of possible synonyms and paraphrases of keywords. With most questions on the reading test, it is testing that as well. Let's look at some common problems. So here are some common reasons why students get some of these questions wrong. Lack of awareness of synonyms and paraphrasing. So if you want to improve your IELTS scores, improve your vocabulary. Very, very simple. Going over the word limit. So it will state a very strict word limit. If you go over that word limit, it's wrong. Doesn't even matter if the answer is correct or you've wrote, like say the answer says no more than 3 words. And the first 3 words that you write are correct, but then you write 2 more words. It doesn't matter that the first 3 words are correct and the other, you went over the word limit, it's wrong. It's really, really important that you are able to follow simple instructions. I for one, I'm not the type of person that is good at following simple instructions. I know that it's difficult because I'm the type of person that I just read things really, really quickly and try and get things done as quickly as possible. Try not to do that in the reading test. Reading every single word instead of skimming and scanning. You won't have time to read every single word. You will have to do these quite quickly. That doesn't mean though there's a balance to this. Sometimes students see skimming and scanning and they think that means reading really, really quickly. It doesn't really mean that. It's about a balance between reading it enough so that you understand it, but not reading every single word so carefully so that you're wasting time. Panicking when you see a word or phrase you don't understand, it's inevitable. It will happen. You're guaranteed to see some sort of word or phrase or multiple words or phrases that you do not understand. You don't have to understand everything in order to do well, in order to get 100% in these types of questions. So here's some general advice for short answer questions. The answers appear in the same order as the text, so this will help with your time management. Look and understand the questions first before you start the reading text. I can't emphasize that enough. I've said that about 4 or 5 times. I guarantee that some people will not do that, but I'm going to keep saying it. what is the question actually asking you? Don't read the questions really quickly, because you may as well have not read them at all. If you don't understand what the question is asking, you can't answer it. You will probably be given a word limit, for example, no more than 3 words and/or a number. Make sure you don't go over this word limit. The answers do not need to be grammatically correct, just short answers. All right, don't write full sentences. You do not worry about grammar in this type of question. Some questions you need to worry about grammar. This one you do not. Don't give your opinion, just give the answer that is in the text. Base it solely on the text, not your opinion. Keywords in the question will normally be nouns or noun phrases. So for example, if you see France or Vietnam or Ireland, there's only one way to say Ireland is Ireland. There's only one way to say Vietnam is Vietnam. So those, or if you see IELTS advantage or Chris Pell, there's only one way to say that. So those nouns or noun phrases are very useful because you can identify them quickly in the text. They will help you to scan more efficiently. And when you find your keywords, always think about synonyms and paraphrases. Not only will you have direct keywords, but you might also get keywords that are synonyms. For example, you might see female and it might say woman. Female, woman, obviously synonyms of each other. Okay, so let's look at a strategy for short answer questions. Number 1, read the instructions carefully and note the word limit. Note the word limit, note the word limit, okay? Number 2, read and understand the questions. Think about the information you will need to find. Take the time to invest in understanding the questions first. Underline any keywords in the questions. Think about synonyms or paraphrases for these keywords. You might be able, like for example, if it says France or Vietnam or Ireland, you won't really need to think about these, but if there's some words that there are obvious synonyms, do think about this. Don't think about them too long, obviously, but just be aware of them. Number 5, find the part of the text the question relates to. So this will be skimming and scanning. So you're going to be skimming to get a general understanding, and then you're going to be scanning for those areas. Read the questions again. Again, I'm emphasizing how important it is to understand the questions. Read the section containing the answer carefully and identify the answer. Continue with the next question and repeat until finished. Okay, so it's a pretty straightforward strategy, but I think the main things are that you're reading the questions first, then you're thinking about the questions, then you're finding the area in the text, and then you're going back and reading the question again. So let's have a look at the questions. So what are we doing first? What we're doing is we're reading the instructions. All right, no more than 3 words and or a number. All right, so if we go over that, our answer is wrong. So we do not want to be going over that, and be very wary of that. Now we want to look at these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 questions. We do not look at the text, we just have a look at these questions. All right, what has been found in some fancy foods products? Okay, so thinking about the answer, what is the answer going to be? The answer is going to be something. It's going to be a thing that is in the products. Okay, it could be something good, could be something bad, but it's something that's going to be in their product. Let's have a look at the second one. Where can you find the batch number on the jars? Okay, so what's the answer going to be? The answer is going to be a jar. So a jar is a container, talking about food. All right, so it's food, so it's some sort of a tin or a container or a jar or something that contains food. Where is it going to be? Well, probably going to be on the lid or the top or the bottom or the side or the label or something like that. So you see, you're thinking about the answers already, and that's going to make it easier for you to find them. How much will you receive for an open jar of contaminated chicken curry? So how much will you receive? So this is going to be money or a reward, or could be more chicken curry or more food or something like that. And note that an opened jar. Okay, so it could be the difference between an open jar and an unopened jar. If you have eaten chicken curry from a jar with one of the batch numbers listed, whom should you contact? So this would be a person's name, or it will be a title like the manager or someone like that, or a phone number or something like that. So you can see by thinking of the correct answer or the type of answer that you might get, it's forcing you to understand the question, because you can't understand the question unless you go through that exercise in your brain, and it will be very, very quick once you do that. What is the maximum reward Fancy Foods is offering for information about who contaminated their product? Maximum reward, again, this is going to be an amount of money, or maybe they're offering food, or probably not, but maybe they are. Maximum, so maximum reward. So how much will you receive? Maximum reward. So there might be two different amounts of money or two different rewards here, so we have to be wary of that. Okay, so we've understood what these are. We've thought about different synonyms that might be and keywords and things like this. So now what we want to do is we want to take the first question. So don't try and look for all the questions at the same time. Just take the first question and try and find it in the text. Okay, so what has been found in some Fancy Foods products? So what we want to do is we want to quickly first, before we scan, we want to quickly skim the first part to understand what it's about. So okay, because what this does is it orientates our brain to figure out what the reading text is about. Important notice: product return, reward. So why do we have, when you look at a newspaper, why do we have titles and subtitles? That's just it's to make your job easier. It's to make it easier to read. So by reading these titles and by skimming it, it's making it easier for you to find the answer, because you understand the overall context of the reading. Okay, so we've understood that, and then we're looking for what has been found in some Fancy Foods products. Have been found in some jars of fancy food. Okay, so let's go back and read that again. What has been found? Fancy Food wishes to inform the public that pieces of metal have been found in some jars. What has been found? Pieces of metal. Is that satisfying the word limit? Yes, it is. So what I would do is I would underline this, or I would write this down. Probably just underline it or go back and write it down here if in the real exam. So now we find that, move on. Where can you find the batch number? Okay, so we're going back. The batches of the jars involved have numbers. The batch number is printed on the bottom of each jar. Okay, so let's go back. Where can you find batch number on the jars? The bottom of each jar. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 words. So that's too much. So what we would put is bottom, or the bottom. Where can you find the batch number on the jars? On the bottom, or the bottom. Those, you don't want to write the bottom of each jar, because it's too long. So the bottom or on the bottom, and that would be, I would underline that or write that in. How much will you receive for an open jar of contaminated chicken curry? Okay, so how much? $10, $5. So we've scanned, found an amount of money. Fancy Foods will pay $10 for each jar returned unopened, and $5 for each jar already opened. How much will you receive for an opened jar? Already opened, $5. So boom, underline that or write it beside it, move on. If you have eaten chicken curry from a jar with one of the batch numbers listed, whom should you contact? So we're looking for a name or a job title or something like that. retailing manager. So we know job title because it's capitalized, so it's capital R, capital M. No payment will be made. However, the retailing manager will be interested to hear from people who have consumed chicken curry from any of the above batch numbers. Who should you contact? Above batch numbers, retailing manager, underline retailing manager. You could write the retailing manager or retailing manager. It would be fine for both of those. Last question. What is the maximum reward Fancy Food is offering for information about who contaminated their product? Fancy Foods will pay a reward of $10,000 to $50,000 for information which leads to the conviction of any person found guilty of placing metal pieces in its products. So, pay a reward of $10,000 to $50,000. What is the maximum reward? $10,000 to $50,000. The maximum, $50,000. So the answer is 50,000. Okay, so let's have a look and see if we were correct. Pieces of metal on the bottom, $5. The retailing manager, 50,000. So as you can see, not the most complicated of questions, but what I want to emphasize is these questions are low-hanging fruit. If you don't understand what low-hanging fruit means, look that up. Low-hanging fruit is basically means that they are, another way to say is that it's a gimme. A gimme is something that is very, very easy. You don't want to do these so quickly or not practice them or be very complacent with them that you don't get full marks. You should be getting full marks for these. And that is you're able to put those in the bank, and then the more difficult questions, you know, the true, false, not givens, the matching headings, if you get a couple of those wrong, it doesn't matter so much. But if you're getting a few true, false, not given wrong, a few matching headings wrong, and then a few of these wrong, then you're in trouble. Okay, so let me know what you think about that, and if you have any questions, queries, comments, feel free to comment below the video or send me an email. Thank you very much, guys. Bye-bye.